Hey everybody, my name's Emily and I'm here with Brian and we're here for another week of Unscripted. This is kind of a chance for us just to have some conversations about maybe some stuff that's going on in the life of the church, and feel free to join us in that conversation. You can drop some comments below and we'll try to talk about some stuff that you guys are interested in as well. But today I wanted to ask you, how was it that you came to be in ministry in the first place?
So I was a senior in high school, and when it finally clicked for me about who Jesus is and that God is real and loves me and all that stuff, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
I'm just kidding. But when it clicked, I was on a retreat, and that was kind of the point of the retreat, was to kind of help you understand what it means to follow Jesus and how to live your faith out and how to develop it, that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. And so I was super grateful for that experience. And then they asked me as a leader my senior year to be involved. And so I jumped at that chance. And the second time I helped on this weekend, they asked me to do like a talk, which like a 12-minute mini sermon kind of. And I was the guy that avoided public speaking all throughout high school. Mm-hmm. Like I didn't take one public speaking class in high school. And so that threw me, but I felt like it was something I should do. And they were like, you'd be good at it. And, stuff that you'd tell a nervous 16, 17-year-old. And when I finished, I just felt really, I didn't know that I had that in me. Mm-hmm. And I got good feedback, like while I was giving the talk, from my peers that were there. And then afterward, I go out into the hallway, and some of the men who were leading came up to me and they all hugged me and they all said, God's not done with you yet. Mm. And, looking back, maybe that's what they say to every single student who finishes one of the talks, and they go out to pray with them and congratulate them and that sort of thing. But I felt a very strong call through that. And after a lot of reflection and prayer, just kind of thinking, what does that mean for me? And so it's definitely something that not everyone has that kind of experience.
Right.
So.
For sure. Well, because I've got my own call story of how I did felt like I needed to go into ministry as a career. Mm-hmm. Obviously we both have chosen this as a career, but there's a lot of callings that people can get into different forms of ministry, but that doesn't necessarily mean quit your job and work for a church.
Right. Yeah.
There's different forms of ministry. So what would you what would you say to someone that's I just kind of have this feeling, or I have this call, but I don't know what to do with it?
Yeah. Well, before I answer that, I wanted to toss out an idea. The word ministry can be kind of, weird. It's not a common word that mm-hmm. people use every day. We do.
It's specific to the church.
Yeah, it's a church thing. But, it's tied to that word administer, mm-hmm. administrate. And so to me, it's ministry means that you're administering, you're passing out God's grace, love, and presence. And so to me, that's what it really means, is because I think if you're following Jesus, you're called to ministry. Mm-hmm. Maybe not vocational in a career, but you're called to administer those gifts and God's love in ways that you're wired for. So you say your question again.
So what would you say to someone who's I have this feeling I'm really, really passionate about this, but I don't know what to do with it because I'm not going to quit my other job to do this kind of thing?
To me, I would be talking with people that you trust, who know you well, as well as maybe people that might have an insight, and maybe you don't know very well, but that they might be able to help me learn something about myself that I wouldn't, because they challenge you or they are well respected. definitely looking at what is it about my passion and why I like to do what I do, or what's behind that, and then exploring with people who have those roles.
Yeah.
What could that look like for me?
Exactly. Well, and I would think that, like, I mean, I know for me, one of my most favorite things about working in ministry is getting to watch other people get to experience that, like, that moment where they're like, oh yeah, like, I have found my purpose. Like, this is what it's all about. So I think, like, for people that work in ministry vocationally, like, that's really our dream and our goal, is to help people find their greatest potential in whatever that looks like.
Right.
So yeah, I think that's great. And I think that there's, like, so many different opportunities for that to take place as well.
And what I would say is always just be looking for those opportunities in your everyday, and then and if you can't find something there, that's when maybe you pull someone aside and have that conversation. Some of the things that I've done or began to be more passionate about, I wouldn't have thought of if I hadn't had people who really pulled me aside and I could say, hey, what do you think about this?
Right.
And people who challenged me and said, you have gifts here that I didn't even realize I had, or I wasn't really thinking through, or maybe I was even discounting in my own self.
Yeah.
So
definitely. Yeah, and so if that's something that interests you, if you kind of have something that maybe you're really passionate about, but maybe you're like, I don't know how this fits into ministry, I think that's a great example that, like, anything can be ministry as long as you have the desire to connect yourself or others to Jesus. Like, that's like the crux of what it is to have a ministry. So if you have some ideas or questions, drop those in the comments, and we are excited to talk to you again next time. Have a great week.
Bye, guys.